learn when you're being sold to, but sometimes you want to be sold to. And it can even be okay if you are aware of that so that you're not going to be taken in a direction you don't understand.
Hey, humans! Welcome to Demystifying Science, where we Alphaflossians try to understand your species, and sometimes you try to understand ours.
Today we are looking at Earth's online evolution, its past, present, and future. Like all ecosystems, the community that's emerging on the internet requires a diversity of species to be functionally optimal. And that's threatened by the big tech monoculture that's emerging on Earth these days.
So, to figure out where that's going, we gotta go back to where it all started.
Obviously, this takes us straight to the 1960s U.S. Pentagon. The Department of Defense wants its engineers to invent a new kind of communications network, one that could allow computers all over the country to speak to each other.
Some say the DoD was motivated to increase researchers' access to computing resources, but others suggest the U.S. government was interested in developing a communications network that could resist a Soviet attack.
In the 1960s, communication networks were vulnerable to large-scale attacks, mostly because they ran point-to-point. This was usually accomplished through a central switchboard, which was the only point wired to all terminals in a given network.
So, if someone, like the Soviet Union, destroyed a critical node, like the switchboard for the US government, it would have caused unmitigated chaos. So the best minds of the US government applied themselves to the projects and theorized a literally bomb-proof strategy. The Intergalactic Computing Network.
It was finally called ARPANET when they finally invented it. And the key innovation of the internet was that two computers on the network could exchange information without a direct connection between them. Instead, information was sent between users through a network of redundant, delocalized routers. If a router went offline, no problem. The network would simply shift its routing path based on the nodes that remained.
This first generation of the internet was exclusively the domain of a handful of researchers. Very quickly, though, early users ran into a problem that's been there ever since. How do you find what you're looking for?
Back in the day, they solved this pretty simply, with a pen and paper map, which allowed users to determine the address of the computer they wanted to connect with. As internet use was adopted outside of the academic world, the diversity of content on the net increased. People sent each other letters through electronic mail, transferred files. There were even Usenet groups, bulletin boards that functioned like some kind of proto-social media.
Then, in 1990, a little more than 2 decades after ARPANET came online, Tim Berners-Lee invented the next big thing, the piece of the puzzle that allowed for the modern day. He invented the web page and the web browser and called this system the World Wide Web.
The web is what allowed people to create websites that could be connected to one another through hyperlinks. And this took the problem of organization first encountered on the ARPANET and turned it up to, a lot.
Actually, I have the numbers right here. It went from one web page on the World Wide Web in December of 1990 to 1.7 billion in 2019.
That's a lot of web pages. The World Wide Web, and all those web pages, could be considered as the second generation of the internet. But it had the exact same problem as the first generation. How do you find what you're looking for? Well, you index it, and a bunch of companies popped up to do just that.
Yahoo, originally called Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web, came online in 1994, when the whole of the web contained only 3,000 websites. And Alta Vista started in 1995, Ask Jeeves 1996, and then the protagonist of our whole story, Google, came online in 1998. At the time, there was just over 2 million websites on the whole World Wide Web.
To make a long story short, Google won that competition. The company had an algorithm that could index large amounts of websites, evaluate their quality, and serve them to users in a fraction of a second. Today, searching for something like, how does Google search work, gives 8.1 billion results in just over half a second.
At this point, Google's indexed over 130 trillion web pages and conducts more than 90% of all the searches that happen on your planet. It's the 5th richest corporation in the world, and there's this huge question on everybody's mind. What next?
Google can help you find everything you could ever want to find on the internet. But it turns out it's not very good at helping you figure out what you don't know, or at helping you find places that illuminate phenomena just beyond your field of view.
So what follows is a conversation with Evan Balin, someone who's spent nearly 17 years getting websites to the top of Google search. And with this conversation, we're opening up a whole line of investigations into the future of the internet. This means everything from search to info warfare to cryptocurrency, data privacy, and social media. We want to know as much as we can about the forces, past and present, that are shaping the information age.
Our conversation with Evan explored a few main themes: the fundamental principles on which Google is built, the problems that have come from the algorithm, and the cascading failure of trust on Earth right now.
Now, what shook out from our conversation was that while there's no magic solution to all of your problems, there are many ways to responsibly push the river and challenge the status quo. If economic markets alone cannot be expected to build the best possible world, what exactly can take their place?
That is an excellent question. Faith in moral institutions like the church is at an all-time low, and humans seem to have a deep uncertainty about the definition of objective morality. It courses through all of the earthling buzz. The weakened economy of spirit that's taken hold in the wake of Earth's hyper-rational awakening has shaken moral and ethical chains that were once secured by ardent religious faith. It's unlikely that you'll find the meaning of life on Google anytime soon, and no one wants to have an old church tell it to them either. So what's the next generation of meaning-making machinery, human?
What?
In the meantime, how are you, the internet surfing hairless ape, gonna face or embrace big tech supergods? How will you evaluate the quality of reports you recover, and can your methods be passed on to others?
Let us know what you think about this in the comment section. Tell us your solutions. And subscribe so you don't miss any future investigations.
Enjoy the conversation, humans.
Yep.